Okay, gonna do a gun show report. I haven't done one in a very long time because I haven't been to a gun show in 6, 8 months or more. I'm not quite sure. But there's a reason I stopped going to them. With this panic buying and the volatility of the guns and people scalping you for ammo, reloading supplies, firearms. I mean, in the height of the panic that started in 2020 and that last wild, or actually 2019, where you couldn't find any ammo, any firearms, anything for a while. That was the last giant panic, and it's like in waves. Okay, it started 15 years ago. It'd be up, down, up, down. Prices skyrocket. You can't find stuff, then a year passes, and then now they got more guns than they can deal with, and ammunition starting to drop, and all this other stuff. Well, we've reached that point. 2023, it's kind of gotten better. The industry's been going full bore. Okay. And like when I did my series on all these budget handguns, these guns came down towards the end of the year. They had all these sales in that because these companies were trying to make their profit for the year end. And they slashed the price on a lot of stuff. You could buy stuff heavily discounted, and plus with factory rebates, like with the Tauruses and that, you were getting these firearms well below the MSRP, okay? So I didn't really go to a gun show because I found that I can actually go online, find a place that has either a sale, or surprisingly enough, I found that Sportsman's Warehouse, if I go on their website and find a firearm that it may not be in stock here, but they may have it in their inventory, and I can order it, and generally it's a 2-week wait. It's like every 2 weeks they come to the local store. So if I purchase something and that within a week or so it'll be in the store, and I just go fill out the paperwork and everything, show them my receipt, and pick the gun up. And I found that their prices compared to like getting stuff on the gun broker or buying stuff at the gun show is slightly better than what you can find out there, unless you're getting a rebate or something. And I'll go into that, with this other firearm I recently purchased. I'll go into that in detail. But that's kind of why I haven't gone to the shows, because going to the shows now, the closest large one I can get to is about a 40-minute drive up in Winston-Salem. And it's a fairly sizable show. Now, if I wanted to go to Raleigh, which I used to go to a lot, that's about a 2-hour drive, and there's a couple promoters. You got 2 different promoters that come there, and they're sizable gun shows. Okay, they're pretty good. But what was happening, like last year when I go to the show, everything was overpriced. The guns were overpriced. Ammunition, if you could find it, was insane. Okay, and a lot of the dealers or the vendors stopped going because they're traveling, setting up, and they're not selling anything. Okay, so it's a waste of 3 days, 4 days, depending how you look at it. They're not making any money. So any of the real sizable companies that would travel, they would have a large number of tables, and a fairly reasonably priced selection of firearms started coming. So I went to a couple of these shows. They're selling beef jerky, popcorn, candy, food, accessories. They had one guy used to be selling cigars and that. And a very small percentage of the show was guns. So I kind of backed off from it. And like I found, I can, from the comfort of my home, more or less purchase something and get it sent to a local retailer here and still beat the price of driving to the show, maybe finding the item at somebody's table, and maybe they have it priced reasonably. You know, most of this stuff's marked up a bit more when you go there. So this show came up, and I was just bored, it was raining. I said, you know what, I'm going to drive up there just to see if anything's changed. And I remember going there when there was hardly anybody in the parking lot, okay? So when I got there a little later, close to noon, and the parking lot, you know, had a lot of cars in it. There were people there. There was a large turnout, you know, compared to other show times I went to the same show. And I went in, and there were more gun dealers or people selling scopes or holsters, some knife dealers, and a lot less. There were still some people selling barbecue sauce or candy or something, but not as many as there was before. Like half the damn room was selling some non-gun type items. But this time the turnout was better. Some of the usual dealers that are always there and some larger ones also showed up, which gives you a better selection of, you know, in terms of items and price-wise, okay? They get a little competitive when you got more, you know, more people selling the same stuff. And it was quite unusual. I kind of went there and I was looking like to pick up a Sky pistol or even a Yeet cannon if I could find one. And when I came in there, I come to notice, like some shows in the old days, anything that was priced below $300 was, you know, that's where you see the empty spots, was gone. Okay, any type of Tauruses or something, anything, any handgun priced under 300 bucks was gone. Because I seen one Sky and I was looking at it, and it's on a table where they're all wired in and everything tied down, and the guy, just before I picked it up, the guy come from around the back of the table and said, excuse me, I gotta take this, somebody just bought it. So it's kind of in that mode. Ammunition, I really didn't price it because what I do is I buy most of mine online, and if you get a case and at the price is with shipping, and I was looking at what was there, and the prices there just at a glance was about the same as you can do online, so you're really not saving any money. But I didn't really look hard. As far as the surplus guns go, or the old military weapons, there was one large dealer. There's another guy I knew. He really doesn't have any inventory, and you may find one or two scattered, but the prices on these different bolt-action rifles, I mean, I just at a glance looking at these different guns, bolt actions, you know, he had some there that were $300-400, but a vast majority there was finish, the Gaunts, this and that, everything's $800, $900. Really pristine condition guns, $1,000 or more, okay? Just at a glance, so I said, you know, whatever. But yeah, the surplus stuff, the old stuff is high, okay? And unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Even any of the surplus handguns, you know, Makarovs were about 200 bucks, and they stayed that way forever because the market was flooded with them, and people really don't like the 9mm Mac because it's snappy. Now they're $400 or $500 for one of them, like you see on AIM Surplus, which to me is a bit high. And you don't really even see CZ52s anymore. The guy had a couple. One guy had a couple Tokarevs, one or two. But I seen the guy that did a lot of the old surplus. He does have a huge selection of new material. And actually, that's where I did buy a pistol. I bought one of these Turkish Browning high powers, or P35 they call them. Yeah, P35. but more on that later. And I find that the guns in demand, which would be anything new from the SHOT Show, like they come out with some new guns, those are real hot, popular now. There's like a slump in the sales of stuff. And I did find one of those Beretta Cheetahs or whatever in the 380, the new one. One dealer had one out on the table and I looked at it, and it's just a more modern version of the 85 or whatever model it is. And they got a rail in it, and they got a thing where you can put a reflex sight, you know, the slides cut. I think it was $800 some for it. I mean, nice gun, but I got an old used one that was like a police trade-in or something. And for me, I don't need to cut out, I don't mount a light on it, so the old one's just as good and was a bit less. But all in all, there were people buying. I seen people filling out paperwork, so there were sales. My one buddy had a big area there, not a lot of activity. Some tables didn't have any activity. And of course, then again, you go with the prices. You could look for the same gun. It could be $30, $40 more expensive on this table than the other table, and you know, you got to go and do a lot of comparison and that. Actually, I got that gun was, I think, what was it? He had this for 10 or 15 less. Actually, the guy had it marked up 25 more, and he marked it down because nobody bought it. All right, and this is about the going rate. I'll explain that later, but I just got it more or less to help my friend out and just to say I got something. But turnout's better. There was a lot of powder primer in that, and like I said in my other videos about this, a lot of the local authorities, the fire marshal wouldn't let people display gunpowder, primers, and all this other stuff. And I think that's kind of taken a turn back because there were more people selling reloading components at this show. Of course, in this county and in this city, the rules could be different because I remember I used to drive, again, 2 hours down to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And the Fayetteville show was a very large one, and it's the same promoter that runs this show. And I remember there was a guy down there that had this huge layout of reloading stuff. And the reason I drove that far was to go there because he had such a huge variety. He had just about anything, and you know, maybe the prices were a little more than you can get in the store, but he had what you were looking for, a certain type of powder, certain type of primers. Okay, I'd be willing to pay a few bucks extra just for the convenience going to the show and picking up a few pounds of this, 1,000 primers, whatever. So I went down there once, specifically drove there to look for something in terms of reloading, and the individual wasn't there, and they said, well, they won't let them set up in here no more. So that's another reason why I stopped going to the shows. Also, they have a smaller show, or a promoter that does a smaller venue a lot closer by, and it's like only $5 instead of 10 to get in, but they're extremely small venues, and you go in there and really there's not that much of a variety, and the prices, you had these panic prices. I remember a 200 round box of CCI mini mags. I remember I was looking and I thought I was seeing things. I had to go back and look. He had $120 on it. I mean, like one of my last gun show reports, like I said, I went to a show. I think it was a Winston show. You go to one table, the guy's selling a 50 round carton of 22 ammo for like $20. And you walk over 2 tables over and this guy's selling it for $7, which at the time was the going rate. You know, now it's a lot better. You can get, you know, it's down, depending on what you buy, well, it's still about 7 cents, 6 cents around. Depends who you get it from, or if you get it in a case, you can get a little bit less. But it's still easier just to go online and buy the stuff when they have a flash sale or give you free shipping or some stuff like that, other than trying to hunt this stuff down at the shows. So it's getting better. We're kind of getting in. Anyone who keeps up with it knows that other than some unusual gun like this one here, when it was new about 2 years ago, this shot at the Browning High Power made in Turkey, the price point was lower than anyone else's. Springfield Armory did one. This is like a $500 retail gun. Springfield Armory's version is better. I can just tell from looking at the pictures. But it's seven and a half, okay? And when they both come out with these, usually you have to wait a year or so before, everyone's going nuts and has to have one before they get enough of them made, get them out there, and you can find them at a general reasonable price or level off amount. Because there were people paying in the middle of the panic MSRP plus, okay? If you wanted a certain gun, you had to pay the MSRP and then plus to get it. But hopefully a lot of that crap is coming back down. Things are going to get normalized. Give it another few months. Like ammunition online is dropping. They're having rebates. The reason the manufacturers have rebates on all these guns is they're not selling. Okay, they got to move the inventory. All right, so it's getting a little bit better, and I may go to a few more gun shows, this spring. Really not looking for them. More or less something to get out for the afternoon and wander around. Maybe I find something, maybe I won't. But it's all in all, to conclude, things are getting somewhat better in terms of the availability of guns and ammo. Prices on ammunition, prices are coming down. Guns, like I said, depends what it is or what company's making it. Like I said, when I had that flurry at the end of the year, a lot of them guns came with a rebate, $25, $50, okay? As compared to crisis panic mode where you're paying MSRP plus to get a gun, okay? So things are starting to shape up, and hopefully the gun show situation in this area will pick up, and you get some more people in there, so it's kind of like you can go through and have a variety of firearms out there to choose from. But that's my report on it. So, guys, if you're happy with the content, please like, subscribe, and if you want to send some support, my link to my Patreon account is down below. All right, thank you, and stay tuned.